right, guys. Hey, welcome, you guys. Stormcrow, Dreamers Talking to Dreamers, episode 63. We have a great show. That's Mark Potter, my co-host in tech. Also a lightsaber wielding savant. We will be showing him videos of him towards the end of the show doing acrobatic wingtip feather tucks with 2 lightsabers. It'll be amazing. And now, granted, he usually does break shit when he does that, but we're going to try to make sure that doesn't happen and it comes off perfectly. My name is JD Glasscock, and then Lola, our little mascot, is kind of pooped out over here on her own little pillow and chair. So she's conked right now. But we have a great episode for you tonight. We have some amazing veteran LitRPG authors. I know I'm going to butcher this first name, but we're gonna do our best. Mark, so that should tell you who I'm going to start with, right, Mark?
Yeah.
All right. So first up, a series I've read his newest one, although he has a lot of books behind him. But Physics of the Apocalypse, amazing series, has a big fan base behind it. Let's bring in Dimitris Gkirgkiris. Gkirgkiris, I think. That's brutal. That's brutal. I've tried, man. It's like such a tongue twister, man. It's like a riddle. It's like the Riddler had like his masterful born baby or something like that with a name. Next up, though, is another guy that I've known for a while and has been very helpful to me ever since I entered. He's always open for advice or conversing if I have a question. And a brilliant author in his own right, a lot of books behind him, Sean Oswald. Hey, buddy. So I only semi-butchered Demi's name, trying to introduce him. But that's good. He's got a good nature behind him. But you guys, again, the show's on my page and the Stormcrow page, so feel free to share it if you want with your people. We're going to just jump right into it, and I'll start with Sean, then we'll go to Demi. Sean, what is a project that you've done in the last couple of years that you just thought kicked booty and it came out brilliant and you were content with it?
Well, let's see. Between my pen name and my real name, I think I've written about 30 books in the last 2 years. Give
me one that stands out for you.
So I'm going to focus on my Sean Oswald books instead of the pen name books today. So the big project that I started with, 6 books in so far, is called Life in Exile. Mm-hmm. And it is about a family that gets portaled to the world. Now, we've all seen the LitRPG is about the guy or gal who gets sucked into the new world. Well, in this particular instance, you get the whole family, mom, dad, 3 kids. You get the snarky teenager who takes deception as one of her skills just so she can get one over on her parents, all the way down to the cute little 8-year-old who can't help but get into trouble.
Very, very cool. So it's kind of like a Portal slice of life because you're including like the whole little kids and all that stuff.
Yep. It's been called Swiss Family Robinson in Skyrim.
I like Skyrim. Although I tried recently to go back after like years and years, and I was like, it's interesting to me how we outgrow graphics and outgrow certain things. Where you're like, you loved it when it came out, and then I'll go back and try to play old games, and I'm like, wow, I can't do it, man. It's like it's just too outdated.
Even old movies sometimes when I'm trying to show a movie to one of my kids, like something I loved from the 80s. And it
just doesn't hold up as far as visual effects and stuff like that. Although recently I watched 3 seasons because I was doing it as background noise while I was writing, like put it on a show on Bewitched, which I grew up on. And it actually held up, man. It was actually pretty good storylines. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of shocking. But anyway, let's dance back to your book, as I told you before, and I can trip myself onto tangents. So, does the whole family actually get classes and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, the whole family gets classes. In fact, the whole trick of it is you don't automatically get a class. You can start leveling, but you have to meet the requirements to get a class, which is the whole process. One of the things that's funny is the dad who has some gaming experience, not the pro gamer, but he's a working man paying for his family, but he enjoys the games. He actually gets mad because his wife and one of his daughters get a class before he does. And he's trying not to be mad because it keeps him safer. But at the same time, he's like, well, why? I'm the one who's supposed to know this stuff. So it makes for some interesting family dynamics. It's really good because, at least from my perspective, because it's this husband and wife who, you know, they are still married, 19 years married. They're still love each other, but they've kind of fallen out of
Well,
love.
has he learned the old adage that's like been around since the beginning of time? Happy wife, happy life.
Well, I've been married 30 years now, so hopefully I've learned it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I will say this.
You have a
She
fan,
can
by
be
the
a
way,
little
both of you,
annoying.
and Richie. Richie looks like he likes both of your guys' books.
Great guy too.
Yeah, well, we could only want more fans like Richie. So, um,
Hey man, it's better than me. I literally have to pay people on a weekly basis to say they're fans of mine, and it gets expensive, dude. Seriously.
but,
But okay, so let's delve a little more into it because you said you have now like 6 books, right? So,
right.
what's the overall theme of the book besides the portal aspect?
All right, so they're appearing in a new world. There's the whole juxtaposition of should I be bringing my modern ethics, modern world view into this world? The mom really struggles with that a lot. She struggles with the whole idea that killing monsters is how you get stronger, and that the strong make the rules. She's for a much more egalitarian worldview,
No,
and
and
her
you know
whole
what, I actually like the reality of that because sometimes I get a little irritated with some readers' commentary on why didn't this person just get sucked into a new world and immediately just start obliterating everything like it's like I'm like, dude, if you're a human being that gets sucked into some fantasy world out of fucking nowhere, not everyone's gonna handle that great, man. I mean,
right.
because to me, I like reality, and some people would go into shock, some people would be scared shitless, some people that maybe an ex-marine would go gung ho into it and just deal with it as it came. But there's a whole spectrum of reactions to that, and they all have validity. You know what I mean? So
Agreed. And by having a full family, I get to show a different perspective from different people on how they handle it. So,
no,
um,
I've seen people make commentary in other people's books with like, why is that person crying, or when they get sucked into some weird ass shit, and I'm like, dude, it's you got a teenage girl who just got sucked into a thing where a bunch of monsters are trying to kill her, and you're asking why there's emotional trauma going on. Like,
right. I sympathize on one level with that though, because I'm so tired of the teenage superhero story where it's I just want to be normal. I don't want to have these incredible powers. And I'm talking about the whatever TV sitcom today.
yeah, and I mean, there's got to be, to me, it's about reality, and there's got to be a reality to it,
Well,
both directions. You know what I mean?
it's the whole fighting monsters. It's the whole having to realize that um, to actually survive and to get anywhere, they can't keep their kids 100% safe. Their kids have to be put into some danger. And
But it might
the
take them a
shot
second to come to that realization. You know what I mean? It might take a hot breath.
absolutely. Absolutely. There's not my book, but there's another book that came out recently that I appreciate how it handled that. And it's the parent. I don't know, Parent Apocalypse or something. I don't know. It's in all the LitRPG groups, but it's great because it again shows the idea of a parent dealing with kids who are in this dangerous situation, and you can't protect them from everything. So
We actually had him on the show, Parenting in the Apocalypse.
yes, thank you. My 100% goal is to be supportive of every author in LitRPG and try to build up everybody. And that book definitely deserves.
Except Brian Norton. Fuck him, man.
Fuck that guy.
Well, so beforehand, Demi said he doesn't have a voice for anything but talking. That guy, Brian Norton, he has a voice. Like he could be a
dude, I
narrator or
purposely
whatever.
think the only reason he's having success is because of the Machiavellian Irish voice he has that has like literally butterscotched everyone to put together his evil plans, man. I mean, that's really literally all of this. No, I'm kidding. Brian's a friend of mine.
I talked to him online. Then I met him in Las Vegas at an authors convention, and it was like, holy cow, man! That voice must just be like.
No, God should never give anyone that kind of a powerful Irish buttery voice, man, ever.
Yeah.
Especially someone like Brian. It's like ridiculous, man. But anyway, let's jump over to Demi. Demi, in the last 2 years, what is a project that you did that you thought turned out amazing and you were happy with?
It is hard. Like if you go 2 years, it is hard to find something that you created amazing because you have. At least I feel
harsh
that
critic of your own shit.
Right? Yeah. Because oh man, why did I do that? Like 2 years.
No,
ago?
and everything is a learning lesson. I get it, man.
Yeah,
I mean, literally,
yeah.
I've written my first book ever a year ago, and if I could go back and fix all the fuck ups in that,
yeah,
I would. I just don't have the money or time to be able to go do that. Hopefully someday. So I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. But what? Okay, let me rephrase it then. In the last 2 years, what was a book you did that got a lot of positive feedback from your fan base?
I think so. When I wrapped up the Apocosmos series, so the fifth book, there was a scene in it that I was that I had envisioned even before I started writing the first book, and that was toward the end of the book, so toward the end of the series. And while I was writing that, there were certain, let's say, threads that I was wrapping around the story, and because I had the ending in mind, I was aiming at giving the reread factor to the series. So when someone who knew what was going to come at the end of the series, if they started reading the books again, they would pick up on little, breadcrumbs. Oh, this is happening because later this will come. So nothing.
So you were underplotting. You were digging a lower level plot under the main plot, and leaving little breadcrumbs along the way to set it up.
Which sounds so natural now that I'm writing the fourth series, but at that time that was so I felt that this is what writers do, this is what we must do, like this is what makes things interesting, because I mean, of course writing is fun and all that, but like making the plot lines intertwine and all that, it was so I don't know. It was a moment that I said, "Oh, this is something that I would like to do a lot more and a lot faster,"
And you felt it paid off. Like you weren't sure if it was going to pay off, but you felt like once you'd written it, that worked the way I wanted it to work.
So not that it would not pay off. I wasn't sure if it would be picked up, as something that that was worth spending the extra time and extra effort into doing. And at least from the feedback that I got, it was worth it. And I mean, I'm still doing it partly because it's fun as well, right?
Yeah, very beautiful. Hey, let me stop here real quick and ask both of you. What's that old adage they had? They say it a lot in LitRPG. Are you a plotter outliner, or are you more like me from the hip, where you have like plot points, but you kind of roll from the hip and how to get there? Or are you someone that literally outlines every chapter, digitalizes every chapter before writing it?
Sean, you are a pantser, right? If you are an outliner and you write so fast, I would be devastated.
Yeah, I have a roadmap with a few key landmarks that I have to hit along the way, but otherwise the characters tell me what they want to do.
Yeah, you're from the hip like me, and you kind of just roll it out, which is what I do. I have I have plot points I need to hit, but how I get there is I have no fucking clue. I just get there.
I use outlines. I try to do not I try to do this, but this is how it usually ends up, like 7 to 8,000 word outline for 100,000 book, 100,000
But you
word
are
book.
definitely a plotter outliner, man.
Yeah, but like if you write 7 to 8,000 words, like of course it is an outline, but like I am punching the outline. I am
But you give
punching.
yourself the space to move away from it if the characters
Yeah,
are
yeah,
pulling you
yeah,
that direction.
absolutely. Like sometimes I see that something doesn't make sense, or like I think something else that is that would make the story better or a scene stronger. So I change things. Yeah, I don't like.
Yeah, I forget who it was, man, but there was a when I did Gildify, I was on a panel with a woman, and I'm trying to remember who it was. It wasn't KT Han, I wasn't Boyce, it was someone else. And they literally Shama.
Shammy show up.
Yeah, there you go. And she literally she said she didn't write anything without every chapter completely broken down step by step by step by step. And then like her Bibles for her series were as big as the entire series itself. And there's nothing wrong. There's no wrong or right in those things. It's like talking about actors between method actor or Strasbourg actor or whatever it is. Whatever works for you, and if it works for you, then great, powerful, all power to you. I don't have the attention span to be able to like spend all my time creating a 100-page breakdown outline of every book I write, but there are some people that make it completely work for them. And sounds like Demi, you're kind of in between. You're kind of a mix of the two.
I don't know how much more hardcore it can go. So I usually outline. I create an outline, pen on paper, and then when I transfer it from paper to Word, I extend the outline, and that's where when it takes its final, let's say, running outline form. So, yeah.
I did do that with one of my feature film scripts. Like most of them I do, like I told you, from the hip kind of thing. But there was one I remember I did break down scene by scene by scene by scene before writing it. But the only reason I did that was because it was like really complicated story with a lot of like moving characters and pieces.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the only reason I did it. But I see the benefit of both sides.
Yeah. Also, recently I tried. Sorry, son.
No, go ahead, Demi.
So I recently tried doing dev edit on the outline for the book that I'm writing now, and I loved it. I think developmental editing really helps me become better as an author. But if I tried it on the finished manuscript, like 150,000 words, and I had to change things in there, because after I've written that thing, I don't ever want to see it again, right? So if I did
Wait,
that
you gave an outline to a dev editor?
Yes. So we saw how we can tighten the scenes, how we can make. Let's say a death was weak. It had to be like a momentous thing. And
a dev editor is developing. That means they're trying to help you with plotting and stuff like that, right?
With plot, with making sure that everything is neat, and if we're missing that whole thing,
you're not repeating yourself, or
the Dark Night of the Soul thing, the praising the villain, and all those things. It helped a lot. But if it was to be done on the final manuscript, no way. That would
I
be
agree
too
with
much.
you. There was like and it's happened a few times. There was a recent series. Like I forgive a lot when I'm reading people's books. Like I'll forgive some grammar fuck ups. Don't give a shit about that. But the one thing I can't forgive, because any filmmaker I've ever met or writer I've ever met, I always say your number one rule: do not break your world. Do not do anything that breaks the immersion of the reader, or if you're talking film, the audience, from your world. That is your number one rule. Do not do anything that will break their immersion in that world, because once you do, it would be very difficult to get them back into it. And in LitRPG, I like the way that happens for me is if someone literally doesn't remember what they wrote just 3 chapters before and completely contradicts it or breaks their own world systems, because and I found it, usually I find it when there's like multiple authors on one book. But I started reading someone's book the other day, and literally like from chapter 2 where they made all these rules about how their world works, and then chapter 5 they completely threw all those rules out with the MC with no reason. I could just tell that they forgot what they wrote.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my lordy, dude, I cannot read this book anymore. It's got to go bye-bye.
My estimation on why that happens, either they are writing at a pace where they're writing, a chapter every 3 or 4 days, and so it gets spread out in real life, okay? Or they're writing multiple projects at the same time. If you're writing a fast pace, if you're putting out 2 chapters a day or something every day, the continuity is going to stay in your head much better. So, I'm a big believer in that the most important thing an author can do is produce words, because that's ultimately what we have to do. Yes, we want to make those words good. Yes, we want to make them consistent. But if I'm constantly writing, my consistency is going to be better, because I'm going to. That's what I was
I don't know
writing
how
earlier.
you made a reference though, and I don't know how people do it. Is writing more than one series at the exact same time. Like I just started a second series, but I am not trying to write book 6 of my first series and book 1 of this series at the same time. Like I'm going to write book 1 of my new series, then I'm going to go write book 6 of my other. Like you know what I mean? Like that would be to me way too confusing trying to keep those stories.
Well, I'm guilty of it. This weekend I was writing in one book, and then started on Monday I shifted back to another book. Both of them are about 50 to 60,000 words in. So,
Yeah, but you're like up there with Harmon, man. Your guys' writing speed and production speed is not normal, man. It's like
I'm lucky.
I come up with a book every 2.5 months, and I feel like that's straining my brain. And you guys come out with like 3 books every 2 months, man. So
it's fun.
That's why I was saying it's definitely great to be an outliner. Then you don't.
Yeah, Mark, the one book that Mark has out, he started writing it when he was 3, man, and it just came out like 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's not true.
How did it feel?
If you're outlining, you don't have that problem. The only thing I do outline a little bit is so after I've written the first 20,000 words of a book or something like that, I will start naming the chapters for future things based upon scenes that I need to happen, and I'll write maybe 1 sentence in each of them.
That's not an outline, Sean. That's not it doesn't count.
I know it's not. But I'll get down and I'll be at like chapter 40, and it'll be epilogue, And then the book ends up being 60 chapters, because in order to get to those scenes, I needed other things.
Written in 1 day, right?
Well, the fastest I've written a book is 13 days. It was about 120,000 words in 13
days.
See,
and I can't even do, because I came up from a background of film where I'm writing a 120-page feature film script. You know what I mean? So literally, me even writing 200 or 250 pages is miraculous to me, and then I got to do a new book, man, because I literally don't have the attention span to focus anymore on it.
You have to understand, you have to find what works for you, because literally I have sat down for days and written 18,000 words in a day. But then there's other days I look at the screen and I sit there for 8 hours and I walk away with 3,000 words. So,
Wow.
And you just said 3,000 words.
Yeah,
like that
right?
was like a horrific day for you, man. Like, I mean, dude, I write like 1,500, I write 1,000 to 1,500 words a day. Now, granted, I work multiple normal jobs. So, you know what I mean? Like I am not yet at the point where I can just support myself off writing where that's all I do. So I I'll take that. But even if I was only doing writing, I would maybe write 1,500 words a day. You know what I mean? Like any more than that, my brain would like fry. I mean, I've written 4,000 or 5,000 in one day, but that was because I was on a deadline and had to get it fucking done and had no choice. You know what I mean? So
I can't speak to anyone else. I can only say what works for me. And
I think both you and Harmon were like somehow an android you were replaced by androids, dude.
Well, hopefully this year I break 2 million words for the year. So
you guys are insane. Hey, Dimi, tell me, how many words do you average about a day?
So I did 3,000 words yesterday, and I thought, yeah, it's a good day.
So would you say maybe more like 2,000 is probably your average?
No, so at this moment in time, I do like 2,000 to 3,000, but generally I try to do like 3 to 4 sprints. So 3 to 5,000. Yeah.
See, that's still like it seems like an insane amount.
The numbers grow
I
over
could probably
time, right?
do it if that's all I did for straight 10 hours or something like that, 8 hours.
No,
but
here's the irony.
It seems like because it mentally, you guys, what I find, and a lot of people that are not authors or not writers don't quite understand, is how mentally draining writing
it is
can be, especially if you're talking stretched out over a year, 2 years of constantly churning out book after book after book after book after.
It is, but it's a specific part of your brain. So to put this in perspective, in 2021, I left my law practice in the middle of October. So up until the middle of October, I was working 50 plus hours a week as a trial attorney. I wrote 1.6 million words that year. 2022, I was doing nothing but writing professionally, and I wrote 1.84 million words. It's
Okay,
not.
You're not making me feel
like
inadequate at all. But one second, I'm gonna go kill myself, and I'll be right back. Hold on.
No, that wasn't what the point was. The point was that suddenly, because I gave up 50 hours of work at the office, did not mean I could double my production. Each person has an amount that they will put out. For me, I think that the best training for writing LitRPG is being a dungeon master in D&D.
I've done that, but I did it more from the hip and kind of just rolled with it. But
so did I.
I mean, I grew up in that. I grew up on all that stuff, so I get it, man. I grew up on D&D and Palladium and Rift and the original BattleTech on the board and all that stuff, Warhammer, all that stuff. But let me jump back because, again, and as I warned when we started, it's very easy with a bunch of creative people to jump all over the place as far as tangents. So, and I'm not, I think it's good because we just gave a lot of information to the burgeoning authors out there when we start talking about this kind of stuff. So it's still good information. But Dimi, we were talking about, give me the name of that series we were talking about. It is your example of something in the last 2 years, because all we really talked about was the underplotting and breadcrumbs that you were doing and how you really felt it finally came to fruition and paid off in that one scene. What's the actual name of that series?
The series is called Apokosmos, and the first book is Berserker, and it's the book covers that have a corgi on them, all 5 of them. Different characters.
It's an awesome book series.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, because I wanted to get that out there for people that either watch this now or watch it in the future so that they can get a feel from some different stuff. So what's the theme of that series?
I try to touch on different problems that I've encountered with not as Dimitris, but like from people that I met, like loss, anger issues, the fear of losing people.
I mean, is it a portal? Is it a VR? Is it a
It is.
post-apocalyptic?
No, but it takes place in the main character lives in New York, and there is this parallel world where if you're pulled to it, so we have our world, the cosmos, and another world, the apocosmos, where all the leveling is happening, and you can go through portals essentially to other realms, pretty much like any.
So it's kind of a mix between a VR and a portal.
Yeah, it's like pretty much any D&D setting where you can go to the elemental plane of fire, to the shadow realm, to the fair realm, etc. But the prime realm is Earth. Yeah, and nobody knows anything else about it. Or, you know what? It's like Harry Potter world, where the muggles are...
Yeah, on Prime World, but then they go to the schools and actually a different dimensional.
Yeah. Essentially, it works something like that.
Gotcha. All right, so let's jump ahead now before we get lost in more tangents. Sean, something currently you're working on that you see is turning out pretty good, darn good.
And
I know you probably have
Dragons-
like 28 series going on, but let's focus on like one.
All right, so Dragon Sorcerer, I'll call the current project. Book 1 came out in May. Book 2 comes out this coming Monday, and I'm halfway done with book 3, which will come out in September. It's what I'm calling native lit RPG, meaning it isn't an apocalypse that comes to Earth. It isn't a VR world. It is not an isekai where you're portaled to another world. It's just a world that has lit RPG rules, and the characters there are characters from that world. In this particular,
So they're basically raised in it.
Yeah, correct. Raised in it. My favorite lit RPG series that everyone in the entire world should read is Divine Apostasy by
Dakota.
No, beautiful.
That's
beautiful
Divine
penman.
Dungeon, right?
Divine Dungeon. Divine Apostasy. First book is Shade's First Rule. The author's name is
K.
Yeah.
I just finished his newest one, Eighth Harmony.
Eighth Harmony. So yeah.
No, yeah,
so,
I like that.
Anyway.
Series. It's very dialogue heavy, character study, not a lot of action going on, but it's still well.
That's what I mean by native lit RPG. It's a world in which people are just born, and they have those rules there already.
I got you.
So my main character here, however, is a dragon. Now we've all got the lit RPGs where somebody was reincarnated as a dragon, where they shape change to a dragon, where they're a mage who controls dragons. Nothing wrong with any of those. I love some Lars McMuller. I'm sorry, I'm butchering his name.
Well, you'd have to go Ian McCaffrey if you're talking dragons as far as the original.
Yeah. But I'm all promote lit RPG all the time, 24/7.
Another one from back then.
But Lars has a great series about a guy reincarnated as a dragon.
Mark was once reincarnated as just a dragon's toenail, not a full dragon, just a toenail. But anyway, that's a sidebar.
So in my story, Dragon Sorcerer, the main character Nico is born as a dragon. He is a dragon. He's in fact about 50 years old at the time, so he's a young teenager equivalency, and he's driven from his home, and in attempting to hide, he takes on a human form. So he's trying to live in a human world, hiding who he is, but not understanding anything about human culture. And I'm gonna go with the review that I got today that said it was 5 stars on the humor alone. So I love being able to
I like me some good humor, man.
Yeah, I love trying to be able to think things through from how would he as a dragon view all the different things that humans do. Like he's disgusted when he finds out that they use little bits of paper to clean their backsides because dragons just fly and do it wherever they want to do
They don't
it.
have a bidet.
Yeah, well, dragons just fly and
They
they
need to
drop it
talk
where
to
they
some
want to
French
drop it.
people, man, and get a bidet
So-
or something, man.
Yeah, well, there you go. So anyway, the point being, there's all these little things that he just doesn't get. You know, he's always talking about how ugly humans are because they have flat, squishy faces instead of properly elongated faces. You know, it's
So
just
it's coming from the direct perspective of a dragon,
right, right, and then
which
there's
is
the
rarely ever
counterpoint
done.
is
It's usually dragons are like mounts, or they're like big
absolutely.
bads, or they're
Absolutely. And the counterpart is the 16-year-old girl who inadvertently gets caught up when his magic is activated and forms a bond with him. But instead of, again, we've got a million books with the young girl who becomes a dragon rider or wants to become a dragon rider, but this is all from the dragon rider's perspective. We do have interludes that are from the other characters' perspectives, and they provide some grounding. But yeah, no, it's been a blast to write the perspective of a dragon and how he thinks so incredibly differently about everything. And
that's one of the great things I like about LitRPG, and you're seeing a lot more of. You know, whether you can, because of the way the whole genre is set up, you can do stuff like what you're doing. You have the perspective of a goblin, or the perspective of a, because of the way the genre is set up with systems and classes and abilities and racial evolutions and all of these different things, it creates so many different myriad of dynamics that can be explored. And I think that's why it's so addicting. Like, I don't know about you, but I've been reading all my life, at least a couple books a week. And granted, mostly fantasy and stuff. But in the almost 2 years when I picked up my first LitRPG book to read, I have almost exclusively read only LitRPG. Which when I look back at it, it seems kind of strange, and I feel bad for some of the authors I did follow because I've kind of lost track of their series because I've been so stuck into reading only.
So I found LitRPG in 2018 when I was looking for a book to read to my son because he didn't like reading, and I was trying to develop an interest for him. So I read a book called Super Mage by Aaron Oster, I think. And the series name is Rise to Omniscience, excuse me. And it was perfect for him. It got him loving. My son now reads 2 or 3 books a week, all LitRPG. I read that, and then I read a book by William Arend, which was also LitRPG. And from there, I was hooked. And I think I've read 2 non-LitRPG books now. Other than nonfiction reading, I do a little nonfiction reading.
I think mine was Vidar Dragon Mage. I think was the first one I ever read, and then I read all the Hugh Fights and Alaron's books and all of those things.
So I think for me, I struggle to read something that isn't LitRPG because I looked at Harry Potter and I'm like, well. Nothing.
I did read all of Harry Potter, but that was before that. But yeah,
well, right. But my problem with Harry Potter, and it's fine. It's fine. I obviously it's a tremendously selling book. I just don't like the 1 minute it seems like Harry can stop this villain, and the next minute it seems like he's overdone by a much weaker opponent. The same thing for Lord of the Rings. 1 minute we're fighting or Gandalf is fighting a Balrog, and a little bit before that he's running from goblins. So that doesn't make sense to me. And what I love in LitRPG is how
it's
it
mathematically
forces the authors,
defined.
Right. It forces the authors to come up with better scenarios than that.
Yeah, but sometimes that's a negative, man. I found myself pinned in a narrative corner because because of the limits I put on my characters. So I've tried to, in this new series, I've tried to take everything I've learned in the last year writing the 5 books from my other series and try to not pin myself
So
into a corner.
I don't remember where it was that he said that, but Matt Dinniman said that he purposefully does this to himself. He pins himself to a corner so that he gets more creative about
How to
the
solve
solution.
things.
Yeah, and I mean it works, right, for him.
Yeah, although I did learn after my first series that in my second series, none of my main characters were getting anywhere near running cities, fortresses, and no city management, no nothing. I made that mistake in the first series, which I mean, it's not a mistake. I mean, it's fine. It's part of the story, and it's fine. But I was like, man, I never want to do that again. Bog myself down with trying to write
just
any
gotta
aspect
delegate.
of city management, huh?
Just gotta delegate. All my main
No,
characters.
and he does, but you still have to
delegate.
when you introduce your character as a leader of a city. Even if you do what most of us do, which is literally create a little assistant to run a lot of it, so you don't have to fucking write about all of it. You still have to write about some of it,
right.
And have those conversations. So not that it's bad. I mean, there's a lot of people who love city builders.
It's an entire subgenre. I mean, Shamir Kisnitz did really well with his Life Reset series.
Yeah, and the Battleborn, I think, does a good job with that aspect of it. But let's jump real quick to Demi. What is a current project? And then we're going to take a 5-minute break. What is a current project you are dancing along? I'm assuming it's physics, but...
Yeah, the Physics of the Apocalypse. I'm writing the...
And I love that series, man. I'm telling you. I think I told you off camera that I love that series, but I let me be on camera and saying that is the reason I invited Demi, is because I read that series and thought it was brilliant. I mean, most of it because I have kind of an IQ of about 30, so most of it was way beyond my ability to understand with the whole physics thing, but still.
Thank you very much. It is very hard to write things that you are not. I'm not an expert, in these things, but
they do have Google.
Yeah, and I particularly enjoy listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson talk, and how he explains things and how passionate he is about physics and all that. So I thought,
he's more like Brian though, where I get so lost in the silkiness of their voice that I start not paying attention to what they're actually saying.
Yeah, it gets hard sometimes. But I thought, how would it be if I wrote Neil deGrasse Tyson in LitRPG
into the MC?
Yeah, I mean, kind of. He's an astrophysicist, and I wanted to write a book that deals with certain issues that are of interest to me. So there is this astrophysicist, which astrophysics. What kind of class can he get? Space-time age, which of course they get the coolest spells. And then I wanted to.
Well, and you're building it and setting it up like a He Who Fights or a Fall, Defiance the Fall, Primal Hunter, which I mean, those are recipes for success. I mean, you're building up that kind of vast cosmic world that reaches far past your planet.
It is as big as it can get at this point. Yeah, the multiverse is in danger and all that, but I'm trying to focus more, on the characters and how they mesh together.
Just remind me, we'll have to have you back when you put out book number 28, and we'll for that series, and we'll.
No, I'm writing the third book, which will be the final one. I'm already pumped about getting on the next series.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, man. For aspect of many creative types, is our ADHD kicks in, and we're like, we got to do something new.
Yeah.
And not all of us have the prolificness and ability to juggle 28 series at once, like Sean here. So
right. So especially if you are outlining, I outlined the end of the series, and now I'm over it. I just need to.
Hey, do you guys do that? Like my first series, when I even though I write from the hip, I kind of had a base outline for the whole concept. And so I went into it knowing it was going to be 9 books. This new series, I did the same thing, and I went into it knowing it was going to be about 6 books. That might fluctuate a little bit, but I just basically extrapolated it out based on what I needed to do in the story and know how big my books are.
Yeah.
And went, okay, this is going to be a 9-book series. It's going to be a 6-book series. Do you guys do that, or do you do what some other authors I've met before where they leave it open-ended based on how much money they make or based on whether they, other aspects?
Yeah, for me it goes both ways. Like I can try to write a trilogy, but then I see that, oh, you know what, the story needs 5 books, so it will stretch to 5 books. But then again, you need to keep in mind that we want to tell stories that will interest people, right? And we only have so much time. So if I stretch a series, or no, not stretch, but like if I let myself write a 9-book series, I am delaying the next series that I want to write. So
unless you were Sean, where you could write like 3 series at once, but yes.
if only, right?
Or you're Harmon, you can write like 80 series at once, but still.
Right. So my pen name has 5 completed series and no open series right now. Those series are 3 books, which should have actually probably had a 4th. 5 books, 5 books, 5 books, and 8 books.
Hey, at least you're finishing it, man, because there are some authors out there that I forget the name right now, but there's one author I recently started reading, and I really enjoyed their books. But when I went onto their Amazon store page, they literally had like 8 different series, none of which were finished, and then pre-order for even like 2 more series.
So here's the issue. No book in a series ever makes more money than book number 1. And no one will ever read any book in your series as much as they'll read book number 1. So there is a certain thinking among some authors that if a series isn't doing well, it's better to cut bait and move on.
But I feel like it's negative against because then you're getting into the George R. Martin and Rothfuss and all those guys. Like you're kind of doing a disservice to the fans that do love the book. You know what I mean? In the series,
I completely agree. But for all that people curse Rothfuss and Martin, if Rothfuss were to turn out book 3 tomorrow, it would be an immediate bestseller.
It would, and the same thing with Alaron, with all the people that bitch about fucking Alaron and all that stuff. As soon as he finally does put out a book 9 or whatever it is, it's going to immediately be bestseller.
Right. So, I mean, but that's breathing a rather stratified air that most authors were not going to enjoy that level of success.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, luckily, my books are only like 250 pages, dude. So I can literally, even a 9-book series, I'm already done 5 in like 10 months. So I can knock the other 4 out like in probably 6 months. So it's not really, I get if you're a guy that writes 600-700 page books, trying to commit to a 9-book series would be a hell of a long ass commitment. You know what I mean?
I disagree with that. You should not push yourself to finish a series because that is expected of you.
Wait, hold on a second. You're glitzing a little bit there, Dimmy.
I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
I said that you should not force yourself to finish a series just because it is expected of you by a guy on the internet, because that's the recipe for burnout. If you feel that you want to write the book, it doesn't matter what other people think. Write the book. Maybe it makes money, maybe it doesn't make money. If you feel that, I need to pay my rent, I need to start a new series, start a new series. Like, of course, there are some...
I agree with you in a sense, but I would not have started
a
series to begin with if I didn't want to write that story. You know what I mean? So I would finish every series I started, for the simple fact is I did it I wrote that story to begin with. I don't go into, and I understand what you're saying, but I don't go into writing something based on marketing. Like
Yeah,
I didn't begin a series based on this is really popular right now, so I'm going to write a series about that, trying to make money. I always
but
write a
outside
story
of
based on
marketing,
what I like. I want to tell that story.
but outside of marketing, maybe you are in a different place on book 4 than you were on book 1, and then
Yeah.
book 5 is really hard on you, not on the market. You don't owe people as much as you think if it goes against
No, and
your
certainly starting,
mental
which is
state.
what I'm doing. I started a new series. I needed a break. I needed to do something different.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I love Demi and I respect him immensely. If I were dictator of the world, every author who started a book and a series got a couple books into it and then stopped it would have the police show up at their door and hold them there until they kept working on it. Because
No,
I joke.
Realized that like I'm not going to say names, but there's just one author I just already referenced, but there was another author that literally changed their whole pen name, and I get pen names, and there's usually justification for it, like you're writing harem in under one name, and you don't want that with your regular name. So I get that, but I know one author who I started reading way back when that literally started a new pen name because he didn't finish any of the series under the first name and wasn't planning on finishing any of the series under the first name. And he didn't want to get any flack whatsoever from it. So he literally just created a whole new persona where he's writing his new series under.
I mean, we know people along those lines too, but the thing is that some of those people are doing really, really well for themselves, and it's worked for them. And so while I jest a little bit about this idea that I believe there's a social contract between a author and the reader base, it doesn't mean that you have to impoverish your family to write a book that isn't successful, or
No,
that
and
you
I
have
understand.
to burn
I try
yourself
to
out.
understand anybody. It's your road. You're walking, man. Do what makes you happy. You know what I mean? It's not. You shouldn't be doing shit that's making you a miserable sod because some person you don't even know bought your book 3 years ago and wants you to finish it. I don't think that's the case. I mean, there's like what's that one guy that, and I don't know if he passed or whatever, but his series was really popular, and he hasn't written one in like 4 or 5 years, and it was one of the first series Brody or.
Oh yeah.
Like his series was really popular.
Yeah.
But he hasn't written a new book in like 5 years, maybe, or something like that.
Right.
Well, but shit happens, you know.
To put this in a little closer to your other wheelhouse, I won't pick up a Netflix show until it has a second season.
Oh yeah.
Because how many of them have one season, end on a cliffhanger, and there you go. It's totally different if it's totally different if somebody writes 2 or 3 books in a series.
Hey, that was like Carnival Row, man. Great series.
So many
but they got screwed because they were shooting in Czechoslovakia or something like that. And all of a sudden the whole pandemic happened right after they finished season 1. And they couldn't shoot because all of their stage, everything had to have been left in whatever country they were shooting in. And all the actors ended up, and that pandemic lasted so long, most of the actors ended up making different commitments. Right. So when they finally got back, they had to rush through season 2, shoot it, and then that was the end of it. Even though that was meant to be like it was Orlando Bloom, I think it was meant to be like maybe probably 3, 4, 5 seasons.
I get that, but how many new series on Netflix come out, get one season, they have 500,000 people that watch it, but it's not enough, and so it doesn't get carried over.
All right, Jimmy, go. I can tell you're bursting.
He's exactly right, because I also noticed that, and I firmly believe this is exactly because of what Sean said earlier, that the maximum amount of people that will read your series will be on the first book. And I am sure that I don't know, whoever makes those decisions on Netflix has the same kind of metric. Okay, we need this amount of people to watch season 1 and this amount of people to watch season 2. How much was the drop-off? Oh, the drop-off is below, I don't know, 80%, then we kill the series. And
although remember, sometimes it's not. I mean, I spent a decade in the film industry. Sometimes those decisions are not based on numbers; they're based on politics. They're based on problem actors. They're based on a lot of other things other than just straight numbers. You know what I mean? So, or they're based on that the production budget for the whole line of shows by that studio got cut, and they have to make those cuts somewhere. You know what I mean?
Right,
so it's not always based on numbers, but I agree with you.
I get it, but like there is a tremendous show that I loved called Jupiter's Legacy, and it didn't get a second season, and it had the numbers. There was some kind of conflict between the production team.
Yeah, or maybe the actors asked for too much money to come back for a second season, and they don't want to pay that much, or the writers do, or whatever it is.
I get it. Which
there's
is
a
why.
myriad reason, and I'm not disagreeing with your reasoning behind that, because I think everybody has their own path to walk, and whatever's right for them is what should be what they do. Me personally, because coming from a film background, I know a bunch of film writers, and they've done way better than me because of this, because I was never willing to do it. But they would just write exactly what was popular. Whatever was popular, that was what they were going to write, and that was what they were going to do. And they've been able, quite a few of them have been able to carve out well-paid B film careers doing that. You know, I just never wanted to do it or had any inclination. I'd rather be poor than write a bunch of shit that I wasn't interested in because I thought it would make me money. You know what I mean? So I always just personally, and it's probably idiotic of me and not very intelligent of me, but I just like telling the stories I want to tell, whether they're popular or not popular.
Yeah, dude, if you're happy, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, and I should listen to my own advice. I just said, do what makes you content. Yeah.
So the caveat to that is easier to say those things when nobody else is relying on you. When your kids are hungry, happy or
you're
not
right.
happy,
I have a
doesn't
dog.
really
She
mean
doesn't have a
anything.
lot of demands. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
No, I get it. And you have to make sacrifices when you have kids and you're married and all those things. I agree.
Also, it's not.
And I'm not saying anybody that does that. Those people are friends of mine that I reference. I'm not saying they're wrong with what they did in choosing to make B films and write what was popular. There's nothing wrong with that. I just personally couldn't do it for me.
Also, it's never black and white, right? You can write things that are popular, that are hot at the moment, that you also enjoy. That
you do,
helps, yeah, that helps a lot.
I've written some things that it just happened to be in at the time that I like. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
My next LitRPG, after I finish my first series, I'm going to start a new one. It's going to be Dark Superhero Watchmen LitRPG, man.
Well, my favorite was when my pen name wrote a series. It did pretty well, and then there sprung up half a dozen series that kind of touched upon the same Western motif afterwards. So it was.
Well, it's like every time a Jurassic film comes out, all of a sudden there's like 15 B films that have the word Jurassic and dinosaurs in it because they're trying to, like, you know. Or 80s hair band, like Motley Crue comes out. All of a sudden, like every studio has like 20 long-haired rock bands they put together to take advantage of.
Yeah, but we can never have enough of those bands.
What'd you say?
Yeah.
There can never be enough of those bands.
Oh, so 80 hair bands?
Yeah.
Hey, dude, Motley Crue is one of my favorites. Smoking in the boys' room.
I wrote a series where all of the criminal gangs were named after boy bands.
Voice to men.
All right, on that note, that is the perfect note to take a 5-minute break. You guys, for you those that you've been watching Stormcrow, Dreamers Talking to Dreamers, the two amazing artists. Also, the lightsaber wielding savant expert Mark right here. We will be showing videos of him later doing feather tip acrobatic tucks with 2 lightsabers, and hopefully he breaks nothing. But we will be back in 5 minutes, and then we're going to also talk about not only the future of these 2 authors and things they have plans for. We will also talk about the future of LitRPG and their opinions on such. And then I'll also give them an avenue with which to throw out their own recommendations on one LitRPG author and one film that they think you out there should take a gander at, not including their own work. But anyway, we'll be back in 5 minutes. If you guys just don't disconnect, it'll go on to that little screen that says 5 minutes or whatever. And then we will be right back and talk about the future tomorrow. And remember, don't forget Mark's lightsaber videos. He wears a summer dress. It's going to be amazing. Be back in 5. All right, everyone, get ready. We're coming back in. All right. First of all, I want to say hello to all the people that are that have commented, if they're still around or they come back together. We got Jess and Angel and I believe Richard. But also all the people that watch it in the future. We have amazing guests. Hopefully you've been enjoying yourselves. I want to start this out before we go anywhere, though, and we're going to start off with Demi. Give me one film you've seen in the last 2 years that you would suggest everyone should watch, and then one LitRPG author that can't be you or Sean that you would suggest that they read. And I would hope that you give someone that's maybe not already like huge, like like Alaron or something.
Yeah. The movie I would suggest everyone should see. I guess it's not really a surprise. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Oh, that was a brilliant movie.
It did really good on the Oscars too, right?
Yeah, and it won an Oscar. Yeah, and it had the right amount. It won Michelle, an Oscar for the first time in her career. And it had just the right amount of serious, goofy mix.
Yeah. So for me, it was I got out of that movie, and as like wearing my creator hat, I was like, I will never be able to create something as amazing as what we just watched. There is
Yeah, because
no
it was
way.
so complex. It was so complex.
So
many
complex
subtleties.
and so tight, and like so many different styles. Of course, I don't know. I don't know much about movies, but like I can understand when something is crafted perfectly.
No, because it had romance, action, sci-fi, fantasy, comedy. The only film I could maybe compare it a bit to, in the sense that it threw so many things in one film, was probably The Big Lebowski.
I will watch that then.
Oh, you've never seen The Big Lebowski?
No.
Oh
That's
my God,
that is
man!
a staple classic.
And John Goodman and Julianne Moore, and of course the star Jeff Bridges.
I'm noting that.
They peed on your rug, dude. Yep. The rug tied the whole room together. I've
never seen it either.
In my first series, my first LitRPG series, that was one of the films because I liked doing the whole pop culture reference. So I literally quoted it, I believe, in one of the books. But it's good. But both are like that. Both have all the action, the comedy, the serious, the drama, it's rare to see a film that encompasses all of those things. I agree.
Yeah. I think everyone should see this movie, but I guess most people have seen it. I really enjoyed The Menu too. I don't know who was in that movie or what.
Well, you had the guy that was the original little Asian dude in Indiana Jones. I forget his name though. But he was the little sidekick in the original Indiana Jones, and they made a big deal about this is his first big comeback. And then Michelle, who's been in a bunch of great movies, but she's never been the lead of a film, which is amazing because her career is literally like 40 years long.
You mean
the lead in the film?
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, the lead?
Yes.
Michelle
Yeoh, I think is what it is. But she's been in a ton of great films, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragons. But I don't think she's ever actually been. This is the first time she was ever the lead of the film.
Before
Yes,
that movie, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's Ki Hoi Kwan.
Oh, the kid. Yeah, the one. Well, he's not a kid anymore, but yeah.
Before that movie, I saw her on the most recent, I guess, Star Trek series. She was
Yeah,
playing
she
the
does a
Empress
lot because
Beth.
she's like a good actor and martial
Yeah,
artist. So
yeah, I like her so much.
she was
And
also in Eternals, the movie Eternals. It was one of the Marvel ones.
no, sorry.
Okay, so lit RPG author.
LitRPG author. I have to say that I don't get as much time as I want reading, but of course I've been talking with authors, even though I have not finished his book. Brian J. Norton, ladies and gentlemen, because I know, like
Well, his
we
book
talked
just came
about,
out today, man.
right?
Well, I mean,
Because
he has a bunch on Royal Road. You could read a lot of his stuff.
I know how he approaches the stories and how he tries to craft the world. I just find the way he thinks interesting and the way he's trying to tell a story, which is why he is my choice for today.
Well, and you get to listen to that velvety voice.
So we played D&D with Luke Gygax in Vegas, and Gygax invited him to a second table, which he wasn't part of, and because he was doing such a great voice, and Brian was like, "What do you mean? This is my voice. This is your actual voice." Yeah, everyone was crazy about that.
All right, Sean, to you, and then we'll go back to talking about the series.
So movies are hard for me because I keep rewatching the same old ones and showing them to my children as they get
Well, that's all
older.
right. Then name an old one that you think people should
But
see.
one recent one, and by recent I mean the last couple of years, that I really enjoyed was a movie called Knives Out.
Oh, the murder mystery. It reminds me of Clue.
Oh yeah,
Right.
that
It
was
just had
Reminds me
some
of
humor.
I'm of the age that I played the game Clue when it first came out. You
Was
know,
yeah. I mean, I played
Mrs.
the game
Scarlet
Clue
with the
too. So.
candlestick in the study.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
But not Knives Out just had some interesting characterization. It had some just enough twist to it.
I've watched
And
both. They had a second one come out, and I've watched both of them.
I have not seen the second one yet.
Yeah, it's good.
But and then I compared Daniel, whatever his name is, the
It
lead
has Edward
actor.
Norton in the second one. It's pretty good.
Okay. Well, I compared the detective in and his playing of James Bond and compared those roles and thought about
Well, I
what a
think
good
he
breadth
purposely
he
did
had.
it. Yeah, I think he purposely tried to get as far away from James Bond character in that as he could.
Mhm. Right. So I just love that. And that's the kind of quirky movie that I'll enjoy
We
and
got
whatnot.
Timothy up. Timothy's going to be a guest in a couple months.
Yeah. He's got some great books.
Arcane Knight. Yeah.
Yep.
Original Clue is better though.
No, I actually
Yeah, I
like
saw
that.
the
I
ori-
thought it was. I thought
I
it was
saw
a
the original
very
Clue when I was a
interesting
kid.
film.
Or why a kid? I mean, you know.
And you
Young
should
adult.
watch the second one if you like the first one because I thought that they equaled it in the second one, which is not always the case.
I will at some point. My wife didn't really like the first one, so it makes it harder for me to find time to
It's
watch a
got
movie.
Goldie Hawn's kid in it too. What's her name?
Drew
Almost
Barrymore.
famous girl. Goldie Hawn's daughter. I forget her
Not
name.
anymore. What's her name? I don't know. Anyway, whatever.
But cool. Okay, so lit RPG author.
Okay, so I read a ton of lit RPG, and so what I went through in my head was books that don't have 1,000 reviews, so under 1,000 reviews, something that should be noted, and
Oh
No.
no, there he is. Sean, you
okay.
blocked out for a second.
He
Did you
tells
hit a
her.
button?
I'm sorry. So I don't think I did hit anything, but anyway, what I came up with was Buy More, which is by Damian Hansen and Joseph Phelps. The series How I Became, or the Shockapocalypse saga, How I Became the Accidental Warlord of Arizona. So it's
That's an
hilarious.
interesting title.
It's hilarious, and it's done well enough that you don't have to just believe me. It's got 557 reviews on Amazon.
Hey, dude, I'm working on trying to get up to 100 on my first book, man. So you're good, dude.
So it's done well enough that you don't have to believe me that it's a good book. But it's hilarious. They have a dark humor. It's an odd slice of life in the middle of an apocalypse. So I don't know.
Very cool, man.
I
All
would
right,
recommend it.
so let's now. I'm going to come to Demi. What is a future project you have planned that you're excited about?
Yeah, like I said,
I heard that you and Brian were getting together and writing a harem series. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. There will be many dinosaurs in it as well.
Most people don't know that Brian at one point dressed in drag as a woman with one eye patch and wrote erotica. Not everyone knows that.
Man,
It's a good piece of information.
Brian's getting it today.
You should ask him about it on vacation, Demi.
Yeah, there will be photos.
Yeah. Anyway, so no. Okay, in the next 2 years, I mean, what is something you want to?
2 years? 2 years? I don't know. There are so many ideas, but the one that I'm getting pumped about right now, I was thinking that I wanted to revisit the kind of wonder that we had when we were reading the Harry Potter books, because I really like that.
No, I thought it was a brilliant series, man.
That feeling, and like imagining, apart from the movies, right?
No, I mean I'm talking the books. Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to revisit that kind of feeling, but I want it to be, of course, LitRPG, right? And I would like to focus more on the actual school, on what is happening, the curriculum, how.
I mean, diving a little deeper as far as the
Yes,
grid.
yeah, learning, seeing what they learn in class, what happens first year, second year, the branches, what do they do after they graduate, how can they go out in the magic job market, so something like that. So I have already started, playing with these ideas, and like what kind of parallels I can, what kind of threads I can pull from our
No, and I
book,
think
like,
it's good to do that while you're not ready to write it, but you're working on a
Yeah.
current series. I think the series work out, like the new one I'm writing. That was based on a feature film I started writing like 3 years ago, and so I was in the middle of writing the first series and went, oh wait, that film I never finished, but I started working on. That would probably make a really good LitRPG, and then I started digging on it. So I agree with you. It's good while you're writing something to already be building something in your head.
And we all have this notebook with ideas, right? So I'm trying to see what kind of threads I can pull from the real world, like how would an influencer look into a world of magic? Like how would that work? Or things that are very prevalent in our culture, but giving it a magic twist. So I've been reading a lot of. I actually have it here because I use it almost daily. The Strixhaven Curriculum of Chaos. So this is a D&D book about
D&D, yeah, I got that.
Yeah, about a magical academy. So I'm
Are
trying.
you also getting ready for Baldur's Gate 3?
I don't want to. I don't want, because it will be just a massive time drain, right? But
All right, I'm gonna have to make time, man. I mean, come on, how you
eventually-
gonna be friends with Brian and not actually play Baldur's Gate 3, man?
Maybe I get an advanced copy when I'm on holiday with him. Maybe I will search through his things. Maybe there is a thumb drive somewhere in there with a game in it. Yeah.
But interesting, although Brian is doing not exactly that, but is something similar with his whole series, Academy. Not quite the same thing as he's created the whole world of demons, and then you're going to this academy to get ready to fight a war that's been going on for, I don't know, 80 years or something like that. But
Yeah, well, I'm saying that I want to write something that goes deeper into the curriculum and like how what happens inside the school. But maybe I start writing it and it's all about saving the world again, because I don't know. That's how books usually end up.
yeah, I mean, well, you got to have some big something for the character driven or whatever. But I don't know, man. Just keep thinking about it. You have a while. I'm sure you're probably going to try to knock out more of the physics and the other series to get those out of the way before you probably roll onto that one. So you should have time to do some world building and plotting.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. But very, very cool. And I agree with you. And what I was talking about earlier, even with as I got I owe 4 more on my first series, and then this new one's going to be 6. But as soon as I finish the first series, I'm already, which is funny because it's based on another feature film script of mine that I started writing like 3 years ago, the dark superhero one. Then I'm going to start working on that. So I agree with you. I think it's good to plot out and think about those things in the midst of creating your current stuff.
Especially like you're saying, like you are picking up all the ideas that you have, like those ideas maybe they were not ready at that time to be fully fleshed out, but they've been brewing in your head, and obviously if you're picking them up 2 years later, you really want to tell the story. So it's in a way it's better that it was not finished at that time and that you are moving forward with it now.
I agree, and I'm one of those guys out there. Like, there's some, I have to stop coming up with ideas so that I get shit done. You know what I mean? But I'm like, even when I was doing film, if the script idea is not powerful enough to me, or it relates again to LitRPG, then it never makes it out of that stage, dude. I throw it away and I start from scratch and go to something else. You know what I mean? So, to me, I try not to write series that I don't think are impactful or moving or, like I have friends of mine in the film industry that'll like literally churn out 15 scripts in a year, and maybe one of them are good. Me, I would rather churn out 2 scripts and have them both be, at least in my opinion, good and solid. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I that's awesome. I look forward to in a couple years seeing that series, man. I'll pick it up and chow it down. And then I'll periodically videotape reading it and making fun of Brian at the same time. So it'll be good. Sean, what about you?
So that question is
yeah, you dude, narrow it down. I know you already have 20 new series outlined, dude. Let's narrow it
44 down. Is the number of series that I have a page written on. Yeah, anyway. I mean, right now,
by sheer volume, you should be a millionaire by now, John. By sheer volume of books.
Yeah, I'm just a pulp fiction author. So, like the Beatles say, I want to be a paperback writer. So,
a dime store hustle.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm writing one right now. It's my secondary project right now. That is, what if the apocalypse was coming, but only you knew, or only you and a select group of people knew, and you had to try to prepare for that. It's I don't know. It's the series is going to be called Welcome to the Multiverse. Travis Baldree is going to be narrating it. I'm psyched about it. But I don't know if that's what you mean.
Yeah, I always hear so much about Travis, but I mean, I don't do Audible, man. So I don't even want to listen to my own Audibles when I have to edit or go like review them or whatever, man. So I'm just not I like reading the words.
I'm 100% a reader, but I know that the audience, that Travis brings an audience with him, so I'm psyched
Oh, he
for that
does.
too. But I mean, I could tell you, I'm looking forward to a series that I'm going to be writing in a couple years that is family class, where class is a genetic thing passed down from families, and
Wait, I just read
you
something. They kind of did that. Oh, North is Guardian of Astor Falls.
Oh yes,
Not exactly like that,
I've
but they
read
kind of did
I've read the
something.
first 3 books or so. Yeah. So in this particular instance, the kid, surprisingly, I know it won't shock any parents out there. The kid does not want to take the class that his parents have set out for him. So just a little bit of fun with that. You know, it's there's just, like I said, literally there are 44 stories that I have a page written on.
Yes, we know, Sean. We know in the next year you're going to be putting out 200 books.
Well, hey, I did 266 words on our 5-minute break, so
Sean, come on.
See,
He's already-
right now, because I like I said, I have to work other jobs. I try to do 500 words in the morning and 500 to 700 words at night is what I usually try to do. Like, and then in between, I'll watch a movie, I'll play a video game or something, or if I'm not working my normal job or whatever, but break it up for a little bit and do something different.
you got to charge the batteries for sure.
Yeah, but never, even if I did writing for full time, I'm never going to be you, bro. I'm never going to be able to chunk out 28,000 words a day. And
you know what? You know what the killer is, though? I want to be Shirtaloon, or I want to write the next Dungeon Crawler Carl. You know, so we all have this different idea of what excellence is. I write a lot of words. The quality of those words is up for grabs, but you know, that's what
hey, dude,
my
it's
strength is.
your path, Sean, and you have family and you have kids
Mhm.
and you have all those things. So do what fulfills you as a spirit and takes care of the responsibilities you have in life. I mean, that's
Yep.
the best
I
thing
agree.
you could ever do in life is to be a good husband and a good father, man. So everything else is like secondary. I purposely made the choice to not get married, which sometimes I regret because there's a balance to both, because I wanted to pursue just my creative stuff without any of those responsibilities, and knew that I would have to make different choices if I did get married. Now, all the women I've been engaged to are probably not very happy that I made that choice, but still. But they could also be like thanking God at the same time that they didn't have me as a husband. So
Dodge the bullet.
I mean?
Dodge the bullet.
We all make different choices in life, man. Whatever makes you content and happy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So while all I was saying is I'm joking about writing a bunch of words, but at the end of the day, that's not the path to success. That's my path. It doesn't mean it's somebody else's path.
Yeah, I think if everyone, what I think in life, man, is first of all, which I see in LitRPG and I see in film, if everyone would not look at each other as competition, but actually just support each other and understand that there's enough pie for everybody, you know what I mean? I think everyone would be more successful, especially in LitRPG right now. The more authors that become successful in LitRPG, the bigger LitRPG is going to get, which then benefits everybody in LitRPG. I'm still waiting for the first film to come out with its like totally LitRPG film. I think that would do and I'm trying to pursue that for my side, but I think that will do a lot to cement LitRPG onto the map. We're already getting films that are kind of a little bit of that.
But we're getting films like that think that they're in the same wheelhouse, but they're absolutely.
But they're not. Like Ready Player One is not LitRPG, but it's
well.
Or
Ready Player One is closer.
The newer Jumanji had a little bit of that too.
Ready Player One is closer than almost any of them. What I'm talking about is we're getting these books where people are put into whatever, or not books, movies. People are put into a VR, world, or they're put into this, that, or the other.
Yeah, but they
but
still don't have classes. Even the Dungeons and Dragons movie, there was still no reference to like actual attributes or class
exactly,
sheets.
exactly. So there's one word that they're missing: progression. They're missing power progression.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things that
Well, Ready
is
Player
the
One
huge
had
appeal
progression.
of
It showed
LitRPG.
him like leveling up or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So,
But I agree with you. Now that is a good transition into how I wanted to end the show, which is we'll go with Demi here first. What is your viewpoint on the future of LitRPG?
This is such a difficult question. I wish I wasn't.
Well, now that
stressing
Brian's in it, it should be gloriously bright. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I see that over the past year and a half, with many serials coming to Amazon, the way that books are being written is changing. So we're going
yeah, a
more
lot of Royal.
into
You're talking
longer
about the
series.
ton of Royal
Yeah,
Roads are getting
yeah,
picked
Royal
up
Road.
by
I mean,
publishers.
in general, there are certain things that the way art is created is kind of influenced by outside factors. So, for example, the way that Amazon is paying authors with the Kindle Unlimited,
You mean how they're not paying authors with Kindle Unlimited? But yeah,
or that, yeah. But on the good instances where they pay by Kindle Unlimited, of course, is a subscription service. They pay authors by how many pages of their books were read, and how are books how are the total number of pages inside the book calculated. Nobody knows, but what everyone knows is that the more enter you hit, the more the number of pages increases.
you mean
So
the
what
paragraph breaks?
yeah. So what does this make? This makes a whole generation of books that have 2-sentence paragraphs, which is not a bad thing, right? It's evolution. Like art is evolving, but it's not an evolution that comes through the art,
Writing.
from inside the art.
That's more of a money
It's
thing.
coming from outside, and something similar I noticed happening with stories that are coming from Royal Road, because they were written for a different audience, let's say, but they are also extremely successful. So maybe this is a good thing. What would be the
Well, I
next
mean, dude,
thing?
it's hard when you're grabbing someone from RR that already has 5 million views
Yeah.
on their thing before they even put their first book on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
You're bringing over a built-in market.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of these books are blowing up as far as Amazon sales, because literally they already have it's like Primal Hunter. I mean, that guy literally had, before he put his first book on Amazon, he already had literally like 38 million views on Royal Road or something like that.
Yeah. And regardless of that, and regardless of the algorithmic boost that they get because of those followers that they bring from their own platform, there is something that draws people in these kinds of stories and how they are written, which was different to a bit different to how we were used to reading and writing books. What the next thing is going to be, I don't know. I hope that we go back to shorter series, because I notice. So this is me as a writer, and as a friend.
Oh,
As a
you're
person
thinking because of these serial stuff, and because even I think He Who Fights, all those were Royal Road originally, right? So
yes, yeah,
you're talking that because of these long ass serial things, where each book's 700 pages, there's like going to be 15 books in each series.
Yeah, and
people are getting used to these long ass series.
And this is a pattern that repeats itself across multiple industries. Like, in order to be successful on YouTube, you have to put out content. And as a person who has many author friends, I hope that we shift away from this because this is not healthy for
Or how they
for,
say in
for
film with
creators,
superhero movies.
right? Yeah. So in that case, there are a lot more people involved. But whereas if you are an individual creator, if you are a YouTuber, if you are an author, and it is being expected of you to constantly churn out content, it is not healthy. So I hope that at some point there will be a healthier turn on how we produce content and how we
Yeah,
consume
but personally, I
content.
don't see that changing because all of your main publishing houses and beginning publishing houses that are trying to increase their brand as a publishing house outside of just LitRPG, like Mountaindale Press, the Shadow Press, the LitRPG Legion, Portal Books, Atheum Books, all of them are hungrily hunting down Royal Road writers with these massive followings because they're purposely trying to get their publishing houses blowing up to be able to do bigger and better things. And so every one of them right now is all putting out what you're referencing, all putting out Royal Road writers with massive followings as their new authors. I mean, even Brian has like a gigantic, massive following on the wild card and stuff like that.
And it makes sense. It's a great platform to build audience and like get
if you have the
instant
time
feedback
span. I mean,
on
literally to
what
do
you
that,
write.
it takes years. But
Yeah, of course. I mean, even if someone comes into LitRPG right now, they would see people who have thousands of reviews and they would be devastated. But try writing fantasy, see what happens there.
Regular fantasy.
Yeah. So
as an indie, you would struggle, I would say.
My first trilogy was fantasy, and I sold like 22 books to people that I definitely didn't know. Oh man, it was hard. But anyway, yeah. So what's coming in new in LitRPG in terms of trends? I have noticed that certain things. So because I publish a lot of German books, and I can see how different the trends are in Germany with the States. So in Germany, VR is still kind of hot. In the States, it looks like so for at least for English readers, it looks like Apocalypse is kind of going
apocalyptic thematics.
Yeah. So I think it
hey, I actually have my first book in my first series actually just now started getting translated into German, so we'll see how that rolls.
I will follow.
I don't know, how do you do that with translators though, because I don't know whether they're translating good or not. I can't fucking read German.
Yeah, you need
they send me to like look at to see if it's good. I just say good because I don't know what the fuck you're writing anyway. So
you need to ask someone who is if you have a reader. But so back on what I think is the future. I think what Sean is going to do with what Sean is doing with story that is set in a world. So you mentioned it as you refer to it as native LitRPG.
Where they know the apocalypse is coming.
No. So that the world exists. That the physics of the world is the system. That people are born there and they know they grow up with
less
the system.
Portal and less.
Yeah, because I think I believe that LitRPG audience has evolved and has read enough to not need the first chapter where they are introduced and they have this scene. Oh wow, this looks like a video game world and all that. Like people are getting tired of that. So if you are into a world and you just let's go. This is normal. I think this is where it's.
I agree with you. My new series is like that. It's the whole system thing already happened 2,000 years before the actual story takes place.
This is a way to do it, and I think this is where we're heading.
Well, and also I think then you can talk about not everybody's like level 1, level 10. Where you're talking about now all of a sudden, if it's already been encompassed and been there for a while, you can talk about older people that are already main characters that are already like strong and already established, and they're not. They're not
Exactly.
newbies. You don't have to always go with
You-
the newbies right out of the gate or whatever.
You can have that already. I mean, Seth Ring's Battle Mage Farmer is that. It's a world that's already set up with that. It is a character who's at the point of retirement and is already so much stronger than everyone else around him. So
And I
there's
think
that.
Harmon's Cowboy Necromancer is like that. You start the story already in.
Mhm. We have to keep in mind that lit RPG as a discrete genre is at the most 9 years old at the most, and we've seen patterns flowing through it. I had a owner of one of the big publishing companies. When I say big, I mean they're a small publisher, but one of the big names within lit RPG. Tell me in 2019 that he thought that the bubble of lit RPG was going to pop within about 6 months.
What does that mean? The bubble? You mean it would fail or it would blow up?
Meaning that that the interest in lit RPG was about over.
Oh my God! Stop, dude. Yeah, because it directly correlates with people's love and interest in role playing RPGs and stuff like that, which is
that was
skyrocketing.
2019.
It's literally thank Critical Role, thank
That
these
was
celebrities that
2019.
came out of the closet saying they all love D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. I think it's doing the opposite of those things. I think it's in fact in 20 years, I would say within 20 years, I would say lit RPG would be considered a major genre in
absolutely.
books.
They now publish a couple hundred lit RPG a year. So, obviously that bubble did not pop like that.
And you even have actual major, I'm not sure if the fact of that, but I've heard in the grapevine that you've actually had real major publishers try to come over and snake some of the bigger lit RPG.
A little bit, but they, the big publishers are, my take is that the big publishers are morons, and they don't understand how.
Well, they're run by corporate accountants, man. So they're not really
correct. But I'm never, I've signed contracts with publishers. I'm never going to go sign a contract where I get 10% of the royalties. That's insane. But they used to have that kind of power.
I mean, dude, I have friends that are traditional published authors. We've had them on this show. Faith Hunter, which is probably one of the biggest urban fantasy authors. You can't go into a Barnes and Noble and not see like a row of her books in there.
Right.
And she's a friend of ours, been on this show twice. Brian Durfee and his group. Friends with Mark Lawrence and those guys.
There are successes there. But those big companies, they publish X number of books on the plan that 2% of them are going to actually pan out.
Well, and you get the thing that they're a lure to authors, because the authors I'm referencing, that was before Amazon. They all became published authors before Amazon became big enough to really sustain indie authors. And the big thing with publishers is advances. They're handing you whatever.
Advances that you have to pay back if
they
not
get
out.
that, but it's still an allure. It's the same way they used to get really talented rock bands and music because most of them were broke and poor, and so they would go up and get them to sign these shitty contracts by saying, "Hey, but we're going to give you $100,000 in your pocket."
No,
even though these guys were usually partiers and they didn't understand that they had to owe them back the $100,000.
I get it, and I understand that I'm an attorney, so I had a completely different perspective on looking at contracts than a lot of people do. But it is.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's intelligent. I'm just saying that's how they suckered a lot of music bands and probably suckered a lot of starving artists, like whether it be authors or.
So
now I think people are getting smarter because you have an actual avenue with indie authors and Amazon to actually not need them.
Right. So if I can speak to this, I think that there are, as I have both the threats to the future of lit RPG, and then where I see lit RPG is going in the next few years. Where I see it going in the next few years is a continued growth at a rate where we're probably growing something like 20% more books put out every year. The audience I see continuing to grow with it too. There's going to come a point in time when the retirement community is more concerned about the gaming that they can do there than the golf they can play there. And we're not there yet, but
like I said, I think I directly correlate it with the popularity of Dungeons and Dragons, popularity of
right.
Baldur's Gate 3, even
I
take
agree with
away
that.
the Bear Love scene.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean? Now, I personally think in 20 years, Dimmy and Brian are going to be standing on top of a mountain of corpses and laughing maniacally. But, that's the whole...
Right. So I agree with Demi that there's going to be an increase in the natural world, native world lit RPGs, okay? Because there's only so many ways you can isekai or portal somebody. I agree with that. I agree with his concern that serial stories ruin things. I mean, honestly, they literally are a threat in my mind to lit RPG, because a good story has a beginning and an end. If it doesn't have an end, it's not a story.
Because I'm reading one right now that I actually like the story, but let me remember what it is. But the problem with some of these serials is they don't, even within book 1, book 2, they didn't write them as a book 1, book 2. They just kept writing the story endlessly.
Correct.
And then they chop it up when they finally decided to put it out in the book. So sometimes the way they're formatted in the book, it just kind of is confusing because there was no actual story or plot line end in book 1 or anything like that. It just kind of cuts. And then
you get repeated information. You get repeated information.
Ghost of the Truth Seeker.
Right.
And the second one I just started reading, I don't know, yesterday or something like that. And the first 50 pages made no sense. It just literally dropped you in the middle of. You could tell that they had just chopped between book 1 and book 2, and it maybe would have made sense in the context of a continuing story instead of the beginning of a book. But I was just like, I literally skimmed the first 50, 60 pages because it was literally.
So
it was not a good starting book.
Rather than picking on anybody who can't handle it, I'm gonna pick an example of a story that the guy's making so much money it's insane. Okay, in fact, it's probably without a question the #1 selling lit RPG of all
Primal
time.
Hunter.
Okay. Oh no!
He Who Fights.
Primal Hunter's doing great, but He Who Fights with Monsters outclasses it on every matrix. Maybe Primal Hunter will catch up someday, but right now He Who Fights with Monsters.
I would say those three, Defiance, The Fall, He Who Fights, and Primal Hunter are probably the top.
Right, absolutely. And I finally made myself read He Who Fights with Monsters. I'm on book 9 right now, so I actually really love the series. Okay, but I'm gonna tell you something. It's not actually lit RPG. It's actually game lit, but not lit RPG.
Well,
it's not lit RPG because there are no stats. One time, Jason, as a bronze rank, can do X. Another time, he can't. And the system is I'm convinced that the author wrote the system purposely to allow him to tell his story. It's much closer to regular fantasy in that than it is to a crunchy lit RPG. I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Chatfield's 10 Realms is like that.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, okay? Except for even in Chatfield, he gives you stats and he gives you actual
very beginning,
numbers.
Towards the beginning, first book or two, but then it kind of becomes more cultivated.
You get at least 2 stat sheets a book from Chatfield. My point is, you never get that in He Who Fights with Monsters. It's clearly a dynamite book series. It's clearly selling great. I predict that we will get more crunchy with less actual ramifications for the crunchiness in lit RPG, and I predict that.
Which is what Dimmy was saying. He's saying it's going to be less having to explain the whole thing. and more story starting
look
with people enough of a knowledge base for most readers to already understand systems, understand levels, classes, all that stuff.
There'll be that, yes, but there'll be less actual specification about what these things mean, and it'll be more plot tools.
The only thing I ask is when
prediction.
Jimmy and Brian are on top of the corpse pile and looking down maniacally, is they allow at least Mark in his yellow summer dress to go up there and do his lightsaber wielding savant stuff. That's the only thing I ask.
No, I mean, so I don't mean that to be a bad thing. That's just one of my predictions. And then I'll tell you what I think the biggest threat to LitRPG in the future is, and nobody wants to hear this, but Kevin McLaughlin, who's fairly well known within the LitRPG community, did a great post today on what AI is going to mean in the future.
Yeah, but that's all books and film, and that's not just LitRPG. That's literally.
I agree, but
and they have to put some regulations in, man, because literally, otherwise you're going to have
let me tell you something though,
China just literally drowning the market with millions.
Here's why
books.
I think LitRPG is a ripe target for that particular avenue, and it's not yet. The AI is not there. I spend a fair amount of time every week trying to make sure I'm up to speed on AI and how it can be used as a tool for authors and what.
I mean, one of the biggest, the AI is the reason there's a writer's strike and an actor's strike right now.
Okay, so here's what the issue for why I think, because what we're going to look at in the future is, hey, I want this kind of book. So I'm going to have an AI write the book that I want for me. Okay. In fact, AI is being used to serve as the dungeon master for D&D groups now in some scenarios. It's those people.
You know what? I do not. We've already gone an hour and 15 minutes. I do not want to go down the perfidy of this wonderland landscape. I want to end with images of Brian and Dimmy on top of a pile of corpses, and then Mark strolling through with a yellow summer dress and lightsabers. That's what I want to end on. But I agree with what you're saying. I'm going to end it with here, and then we're going to say goodbye. And hopefully, people got a kick out of this entire show. And a lot of useful information. I'm going to ask each one of you to give advice to a young author starting the game, wanting to get into LitRPG, and what advice you would give him. Dimmy, you start, and then we'll end with Sean.
So I've put some thought into this because as a new author or as a new professional, as a young person, you're not very receptive to feedback in general. My one advice would be to publish it. Stop trying to perfect it, just publish it, because there are certain things that you only learn when you finish something, when you put it out into the world, and when you put it behind you and look at what's coming next. This is my advice, at least to,
and not just sit on it trying to make something perfect.
It will never be perfect. I mean, this is such a contrived piece of advice that it will never be perfect. Something that is published, something that is finished is better than 20 things that are unfinished. Yeah, of course. But if you're trying to learn, if you're trying to become better, know that there are certain things that you will only learn once you're beyond.
Once you put it out in the public. Yeah. I agree with you. I've learned. My first book came out in August of last year. I've written 5 now. I have learned so many things from the public feedback and reaction and all those things that you learn from that I'm trying to then bring. And learning never stops. For any of you out there, you guys, no matter whether you're a master or whether you've been doing it for 4 decades or whatever it is, the day you think you can't learn something new is the day you should quit whatever you're doing.
And one thing,
because there's never going to be a time where you can't get better. I've been writing for 3 decades. There's never a time where I can't learn or get better at what I'm doing, and that should be in perpetuity.
There are things that you learn craft-wise, of course, with finishing and like getting the feedback, but there are also things that you learn about yourself by accepting that, okay, this is good enough right now, and okay, I created something, a full piece of art out of nothing. I finished it. So there are certain things that you also learn about yourself by accepting that it's done. It's published now.
Yeah, and then even if it doesn't go the way you wanted it to go, get back on the horse and do it again. You know what I mean? Like, so I agree. I mean, my 5 books, I've had like people tell me that they're going to assassinate me if I write anymore. And I against all odds, I'm saying I'm gonna anyway. Now I periodically have to stop dwarf circus ninjas from getting to me, but that's just the way it works, man. Now, Sean, what would be your advice?
So very similar, very similar. So,
and please do not say write 8,000 words a day, dude. Please do not say that.
Nope, not what I'm going to say at all. Outline if you need to, fine, but outline and be done. Read some books about being an author, fine, but then be done with it. Lots of people say, in fact, I could walk up and down the street and pick out people who say they want to write a book. Then I could pick out a fairly large segment of people who say they started writing a book. What separates an author from all of those people is that they finished the product. So it doesn't need to be perfect. Just get the words on the paper. It doesn't matter if it's 200 words a day. Just get the words on the paper.
So very similar and pretty much the same advice. So get it done, you guys. That's the main part of the advice. Don't talk about getting it done. Don't hope to get it done. Actually go get it done. And don't listen when Sean is a weird cat with the 83,000 words a day, but just understand it doesn't matter if you write 100 words a day, 200 words a day. If you write any a day, eventually you're going to look up and it's going to be done. So the key is just to do it. When I used to tell young filmmakers this when they were trying to write a script or whatever, I would say just keep your computer open, keep that file open on your computer, and before you go to bed, you have to write at least one sentence.
Right.
Doesn't matter if it's good, not good, whatever. Just do that every single day, and sooner or later you will look up and it will be done.
Right. Writing is a muscle just like weightlifting. You didn't go to the gym and lift that weight the first day. You built it up. Same thing with
and yes, John.
writing.
Sean is an android from the future. Him and Harmon, man. I get like scary glimpses of body snatchers when I think of Sean and Harmon, man. Like some cybernetic android has replaced both of them that can write like 93,000 words a day.
Number keeps going up.
Yeah,
that's why he purposely got so passionate about AIs, because he's trying to throw us off to the truth of things. You know what I mean?
No, I went into attorney mode.
Yeah. But anyway, you guys, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an amazing show. Sorry that we went a little over time. That was actually a 2-hour-long show, man. And I know with Dimmy, it's like 7 a.m. now, and literally all of his, the bars are reopening. So, but anyway, thank you so much. I'm sorry, you guys, we do not have enough time this episode to show Mark's wingtip acrobatic feather tuck lightsaber in his yellow summer dress. But to make up for it, next episode, I'm going to add myself in there with a disco ball and my sumo thong. So it's going to be amazing. It's going to be an amazing, amazing thing. We'll try to fit it in. But anyway, I want to thank my guests, Demi and Sean, both amazing, talented authors. Mark will, when it finishes up in the post, he will put links to how you can get a hold of their books and support them and all those.
That's already there.
Okay, there you go. But I want to thank you both. You're both great spirits, great, talented authors. I hope you guys had a great time. And for all of you out there that either watched it now or watch it in the future, you've been watching Stormcrow Dreamers Talking to Dreamers. As always, dream big and put the sweat and steps in to see that dream come out. But anyway, beautiful thoughts, love from all of us to all of you. Blessings.
Have a good
Thanks.
night.
Thank you. Ciao.
Oh, and Bryden Orn's book came out today. Ask him about his in drag eye patch erotica writing. There you go.
Yes, everyone.
Have a good night.